So let's run through some examples here. We're going to use engine 16 for our example. They're southwest quadrant, so they're monitoring Alpha Bravo 2. They are going to respond on southwest quadrant, Alpha Bravo 10. They go back in service, they're back on Alpha Bravo 2. Now they're making a box alarm with District 6, and it's somewhere north of I-10. So they're in that northwest talk group. So they respond on, get their call on Alpha Bravo 2, respond on Alpha Bravo 3, District 6 requests a TAC, so they get TAC 4. So they go to Alpha Bravo 4, tap it out, they go back to Alpha Bravo 2. Now they're making a box alarm southeast. They're running with engine 25, engine 7, engine 8, okay? So they got dispatched on Alpha Bravo 2. Now they got to change to Alpha 10. District 8 requests a TAC. They get TAC 16. They go to Alpha 16. Now they go back in service, back on Alpha Bravo 2. Okay? EMS call. Again, southwest, so they're Alpha Bravo 2, respond on Alpha Bravo 10. They're told to go to TAC 13, so they go to Alpha Bravo 13. But keep in mind, this is where one of the fallacies of this system is right now, because everything is a quadrant. You may have to go to a citywide talk group or get two talk groups patched together to talk to a supervisor if everything from your quadrant is not available. So if you're in the southwest quadrant, you've got supervisor 16, you've got supervisor 69 and supervisor 82, and even senior 33. So if all four of them are out and you're on squad 68 or ambulance 68, I guess would be more realistic, you're on an ambulance and you need to talk to that supervisor and say supervisor 30 is the only one available, now you're talking about going from deep southwest to the northeast. They're probably not going to work. So you could be told to still go to TAC 13, and they could tell that northeast supervisor to go to TAC 5, and they patch the two of them together. Or they could tell you to go to some other citywide place. They may tell you to contact telemetry on Alpha Charlie, and then have medical control let that med operator on Alpha Charlie 2 tell you what med channel to talk to each other on, because those are citywide. That is a possibility right now, but we're still going to follow the same procedure that you're doing right now for contacting a supervisor. So they go back in service, they're on Alpha Bravo 2. Training, going out of service, you're on Alpha Bravo 2, you go up to OEC 1, you go out of service, get your time. You meet out there at the training academy. They say during the pre-meet that you're going to be in Bravo Alpha 14 for your evolution. Then you do your drill, you go back in service on OEC 1, you get your time, you go back to Alpha Bravo 2 to monitor on the house. Here's our changes in red. Column 1, nothing but talk groups. Column 2, nothing but talk groups. Column 3, we actually changed the zone in talk groups. Column 4, nothing but talk groups as long as it's in our quadrant. And even then, we may not have to. Last column, the one in yellow, that is the only one that we actually had to change that bank button. Okay? So there's that 1%er. We've come across two examples now. If you look back to where we talked about Lifelight, then we had one person change because the whole crew doesn't need to talk to Lifelight. Officer designates one person, they talk to Lifelight. So you got one person talking to Lifelight there. Now you go back to these examples here. This is a non-emergency situation. You're training. Everybody can bring their radios in the classroom. The instructor can make sure that everybody's on the right talk group. No problem. Okay? So the only other time you're worried about having to change your bank button now is that mutual aid call where you are mutual aiding somebody else. So whether you're responding to Atascocita or Missouri City, Pearland, Pasadena, or anywhere along our borders, if we're, mutual aiding Bel Air or Westview or the Village, we may end up going to that Harris County mutual aid on that 1% of the time. So that 99% of the time, suppression is operating in that Bank A. So that's how we want to have that good radio day, making sure we're in Bank A, and then we're locked into place on that. So let's talk about these emergency orange buttons. Emergency call. We have them active now. They've been active in the apparatus for a couple of years, and to activate it on the apparatus, it's a double push. To activate it on this radio, it's a light single push. It doesn't take much at all. But to reset it, it takes a long push. Press and hold for 2 seconds, then it resets. So that's one of the things that we want to change. We want to get the programming done to where it's all the same. It's easier for us to operate. And we reduce the number of false alarms that we're going to have. Because right now, it's so easy to activate. I could put it on my hip right now, and then I might accidentally hit it. So whether we're 10-10 going, or sorry, can't say that. Whether we're in service on the air, or we're going in the grocery store, we're on an active incident, but it's like an automatic alarm or an EMS call, and we accidentally hit that button, now we've opened up the whole can of worms. So what's that can of worms? That orange button, when it becomes active, will override all other communications on that group. So if we're on OEC 1 and we're going through a store or something like that, and we hit the button, it overrides all the dispatching then. Okay? I'm sorry, I guess I should have said citywide dispatch. So if we're on citywide dispatch and we're going through the grocery store, we just interrupted all the dispatching. If we're on OEC 1 because we're out of service, now we just alerted over OEC 1. If we're on an active incident and we're in the northeast quadrant and we're on Alpha Alpha 3, everybody else that's on Alpha Alpha 3 has now heard us do that. So we have to reset and then go through that process. So it transmits our ID to OEC. So that our alias code that is in there, it says engine 16C, you've activated your emergency alert button. So they call and they want to know to make sure you're okay, or they'll tell command to let them know. So it opens up your radio for 10 seconds hands-free. It doesn't matter if you're connected to your EasyComm or if it's being held in your hand or if it's on your waistband. It gives you an open mic for 10 seconds. So, oh yeah. Okay, so here's what it looks like if I'm doing this. If I hit this button, my display screen is going to turn red, my transmit light is going to turn red, and I'm going to have that open mic for 10 seconds. OEC sees that it's me that's transmitting and that it's activated. So actually I get a tone coming out of my radio for about 2 seconds, and everybody else that's on the talk group will get a tone coming out of their radio for about 2 seconds. Then the other 8 seconds is me being able to transmit or you receiving it. Okay? So like I said, it only takes a quick push of the button, 1 second or less to activate it. To reset it, you press and hold for 2 seconds, and then it resets. So if you're on the receiving end, what do you see? You will see an amber backlight for your display screen. You will see an amber transmit button, and on your display screen, it will say emergency received. Okay? And then anytime I key up, whether you're talking or not, you're going to hear what I say. So if you're talking and I key up, it's going to bonk you, and then you're going to hear what I'm saying. So I've got that override capability. Nobody else can reset it but me. I'm the one that has to do it. I activated it, I have to reset it. So it doesn't matter if it's for just 3 minutes or 3 hours or 3 days. As long as this battery has juice in it, it's going to be in the emergency mode until it's reset. So if I take the battery out, that resets it. If I hit the orange button for 2 seconds and get the tone, it will reset it. But if I just activate the button and I tell OEC, check par okay, but I never hit the orange button, I'm still active. So the next time I key up and say anything, I override everybody. Okay? So let's run through some examples of when we might or might not want to use this. We'll start off with a fireground type scenario. Let's say Engine 40 is the first in company, and Engine 40 is making an offensive attack, and they're going into this warehouse. Okay? It doesn't have to be grocery supplier or anything humongous like that. But if it's more than 50 by 50, okay, even not that big, but 50 by 50, 100 by 100, something like that, not too big, but it's still big enough to get lost in. You go through a doorway. So the captain and first lineman are going into the structure, and the firefighter C is bringing up slack. And then he goes through the doorway and he brings up some more slack. So he's trying to find his way up to the captain and the first lineman by following the hose. Well, he trips. He trips over the hose or a pallet or whatever. Now he's gotten off of hose line. He's in an ideal H atmosphere. He's feeling around for it. He can't find it. As he's feeling around for it, he keeps knocking over more stuff. And maybe that stuff has fallen on top of the hose and it's right there in front of him and he doesn't know it. What does he need to do now? Does he need to hit the orange button? Does he need to go mayday, mayday, mayday? Or does he need to call his captain? No, he hadn't dropped his radio. He's tripped over whatever. He's gotten off the line.
I would say mayday because it's going to be hell trying to find that button with your gloved hands.
Well, remember, think about where our radio is. We drop our radio into our Velcro pouch here. We got the Velcro flap over it. So we can't see, but as long as you drop it in where the speaker is facing you, that way the antenna is out to your shoulder, okay? You pull your flap up with your left hand, grab the antenna with your right hand, because that's one of the really neat things about this big antenna is that it gives you an easy handle to grab hold of. So you pull it up, grab it with your left hand again at the bottom, and then slide your finger down and use that antenna as your guide to where that thing is. So yes, you can easily do it. Now if you got big fat fingers and you got a big fat gauntlet glove on, it may be a little wedge for you to push in there, but you're going to be able to activate that button. It's not that difficult. If you look at my uncovered finger here, it fits to where it's in between the antenna and that talk group knob, and I still got about a finger's width available, but I don't have a fat finger.
But how far does that button need to be depressed? You're just going to hit the top.
It is a dog hair. That's all it takes. You barely touch it, and that's why we're wanting to change it to that press and hold for 2 seconds. We want to make it the same, to where the apparatus is the same as the handheld, and the activation is the same as the reset, so that we eliminate the false alarms. You will be able to do it. And let's say you are in that ideal H. Let's go back to our example, okay? I can't say for each individual at what time they need to say mayday, 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 or at what time they need to hit the orange button. Because the number one key is not waiting too late. But we can use situational awareness to think about what we're doing to get us started in the right direction. So let's go with our original example here. We've got engine 40. They've just gotten on location. They've just gone through the doorway. The captain and first lineman are on the nozzle. And that firefighter C has been coming up with slack. So he should have a fairly full bottle. He should have at least one green light on his light display on his regulator. Okay? So let's assume that this is all good in that direction. So my first step would be engine 40C to engine 40A. I came through the second doorway. I went to the right. I tripped. I cannot find the hose line, and I can't find you. So engine 40A should be coming back and say, engine 40A to C. We went to the left. We're coming back to get you. And as long as these 2 or 3 meet up in about 60 seconds, then we're doing okay. But if they don't meet up in that 60 seconds, then somebody or both of them need to be calling a mayday. Because we don't want to wait till we get lower on our air bottle to call that mayday. Okay? This is waiting too late into the situation is going to get you in trouble. And there's only 2 things that are going to get you out of that trouble. Number 1 is your desire to get out of the situation that you're in. And number 2 is your ability to communicate what your problem is and what your needs are. So as long as you can say that, so if you say, mayday, 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 I'm in the northwest corner on the 5th floor, my last known position was by stairwell Bravo, and my vibe alert just started going off, you've made everything crystal clear. And I can say that in less than 8 seconds. And now command can do whatever they need to do. Okay? So let's go back to our example. We're in that environment where we got an ideal H atmosphere, but we've just entered it. We've got plenty of air, and we called our captain. Captain called us back. So we established radio communication, and they're going to come back to get us. They've got a hose line that they still have in their hand. They can follow it back. Let's kick it up a notch. let's say they've been in there for about 10 or 12 minutes and they're working their butts off, okay? And now some stuff starts raining down from the ceiling, okay? Doesn't injure us, but now we're separated, okay? Because firefighter C was pulling up some slack. And firefighter A and B are together at the nozzle. So now we've gotten separated again, or just for the first time, but we're kicking it up a notch. So now my vibe alert just started going off. Now what do? Do I just call the captain on the radio? Do I call a mayday? Do I hit the orange button? Yeah. At the very least, I'm not going to be calling my captain. At the very least, I'm going to be going mayday, 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 and giving that information, letting my incident commander and my captain know what's happened. But, like you said, if I don't hit the orange button and I can't get that permission to talk, because remember, in this new system, I got to get that permission to talk. I cannot walk over anybody. So to get that permission to talk, but if command is talking to the first in ladder because they're performing ventilation, or he's talking to the second in ladder that's doing forcible entry on the Charlie side of the structure, or he's talking to water supply, or he's talking to the second in chief, or whoever, and giving them instructions, there's too much radio traffic, you got to go for the orange button. And this is just another tool in the toolbox for us. Yes, sir.
But if you hit the orange button, you said it overrides.
Yeah.
That's why it's telling you. How's the chief? They're going to have to go to a different channel to communicate because you're going to have.
What's our priorities? Remember, life safety is number one. Our life safety comes over anybody else's life safety. Okay.
How does the IC communicate to the red team
So
if you've taken over that channel?
exactly. So, well, let's talk about it here. Okay. So if I hit the orange button, now I've given myself priority. It's for 10 seconds that I get the open mic. So after that, I'm not locking up the talk group as long as I don't communicate. But OEC has to notify command. If I didn't say anything, OEC has to notify command as to who hit the orange button. So they're going to say, OEC to command, engine 40 Charlie has activated their emergency alert. Now it's up to command as to how to decide they want to proceed. They could say, command could say, let's go defensive, have everybody pull out, and then get them to change their talk group. Now the RIT team can be deployed and leave the RIT team on that talk group. And now your fire attack group is going. If he doesn't want to go defensive, now you're talking about a problem trying to get people to change talk groups. But what if the rest of engine 40 is close by and they see a path to get to that guy, but 40C couldn't see the path to get out? Now they can help him. But it all comes down to command and what command decides to do, how they want to react to that situation. All this orange button is another tool in our toolbox. But because you have to get in this new system, you got to get that permission to talk. You cannot walk over anybody else until you hit that orange button. That's your lifesaver. Yes, sir.
What if more than one person is hitting that emergency button?
Okay, no problem. So if, let's say all of engine 40's crew gets separated, they've had a partial structural collapse, and now they become trapped in a corner of the warehouse. There's no doors or windows. So they're going, all three of them hit the button, and the captain's going, mayday, mayday, mayday. We're stuck in the Bravo Charlie corner of the structure. Okay? We've had debris fall down. We can't get out of here. Okay? Now command knows where they're at. All three of them will be having priority. The last person to hit the button has priority over the other two. But all three of them have priority over anybody else on the fire ground. Okay?
So it's going to allow them to talk in that order that they pressed it, or the very last person to hit the button is going to get priority? Or?
So if the captain
All three of them have priority. So if the captain hits the button and then the firefighter A or B hits the button and firefighter C hits the button, firefighter C, as being the last person, would have priority over A and B, but all three of them have priority over engine 26, engine 23, engine 29, ladder 26, ladder 29, whoever all else is there. They've got priority. Plus, if you've got other companies that are on the talk group.
So
Okay.
they're not going to be able to all talk at the same time?
No.
He's going to get his 10, he's going to get his 10,
No.
he's going to get his 10, or they can all talk at the
They don't all get 10 seconds because, let's face it, we just gave the scenario where all three of them are together. So only one person, it should be left to the officer to communicate the problems and the needs because the officer's in charge. So yeah, all three of them can hit the button, but let the officer take command of the situation for those three and communicate their needs with command. Okay?
But they could all be separated too.
They could all be separated. And if that's the case, and that's no different than you've got engine 40 at the Bravo Charlie corner and engine 26 in the Charlie Delta corner. Okay? So those two corners, you've had a structural collapse in between them. Now they've both gotten trapped in their respective sections of the building. Okay? They both have Mayday situations. They both can hit the button, or all six of them can hit the button. Okay? It doesn't keep anything from not functioning. All it does is they have to put a pecking order on the button as to who gets it. It's either the first person has priority over everybody else, or the last person to hit it has priority over everybody else. So they pick the last. That's all it is. They all get priority over all the other people out there. Okay? All six of them.
Still confused as to who's going to be. They'll all be able to talk and say,
Yeah.
"How are they not?"
Not at the same time.
Say one or, I mean, how will they know each other? He's hit it. How do I know he hit it?
Permission to talk.
So once you hit it up and.
You still have to get permission to talk. So if you're the captain on engine 40 and I'm the captain on engine 26, if you hit your button and you start to talk and 2 seconds after that I hit my button, I'm going to get priority over you. Okay? But so I say my piece and then you say your piece. As long as I'm not keyed up, you got priority. I, as engine 26, because I pressed the button after you, I would have priority over you. But we both have priority over everybody else out there on the fire ground. Does that make sense?
So you're both going to hear that permission to talk signal.
Not at the same time. Nobody can hear it at the...
Confusion, but at the same time, the last one's going to be heard, and the other one could have gave the location.
Your tone is going to go out. You're trying to... Nobody... I don't care if the world's on fire. You cannot have two people with the ability to have a push to talk at the same time. Not going to happen. But you can do your 10 seconds and then I can do my 10 seconds, or I key up and say something to command and then you key up and say something to command. But we can't do it at the same time. Not possible. Make sense? It's yeah, but here, think about it. What do you have today? If you key up and I key up at the same time, and because our radios don't give us the permission to talk, it just gives us that idiot tone that says the radio's ready to work, okay? And you talk and I talk, command is not going to understand either one of us because we're walking over each other. So it's even worse. So at least now you know with that getting bonked, you got to wait. And you're waiting because somebody else hit the panic button as well. Okay?
You'll hear the ball.
You'll hear the bonk.
So if you're talking, you hit it, you talk, and all of a sudden he hits it, he starts talking, you're gonna hear, oh shit, somebody hit it too.
You're going to hear the ball.
I need to go ahead and say it again after he's finished.
We're going to play with this in just a second. So we've gone through our fire scenario. Let's go through our EMS scenario. Okay? We've all made a shooting at a convenience store before. Okay? Okay? So you're on that medical type call. It doesn't matter if you're on the pumper, the truck, the squad, the medic, the ambulance, whatever. We all make those calls there, okay? So if you start rolling up on the location, you hear shots fired, you just take your foot off the brake, you hit the accelerator, and off you go, okay? You radio to dispatch and you say, shots are fired, we've rolled out of the area. We are because this is not an assist the firefighter mode, okay, right? The shots are fired, we've cleared ourselves out of the situation. It's not even an emergency situation. We're not being shot at, okay? They're shooting at each other, not our job. We let them finish their stuff, PD secures the area, then we go in and we pick up the pieces. That's our job, okay? So I don't care if shots are fired. I'm going to hit the accelerator, get the heck out of there, and let them finish their thing, okay? When we hit that orange button, it is an assist the firefighter. Doesn't matter if it's a fireground setting or the EMS setting. Because here's a fireground setting where you may be needing assist the firefighter from PD. If you're on that pumper that's 2 blocks away or around the corner from the fire and you're pumping into somebody else and somebody comes up to rob you, guess what? Hit the button. Okay? So it can happen on a fire ground. Okay? Now, if you're inside that IDLH atmosphere, do they need to activate PD? No. They're going to be communicating with command and saying who's hit the button, and then hopefully, if you've got the ability to reach into your coat, pull up your radio, hit the button with your gloved hand, then you're going to have the ability to hit your push to talk and communicate what your needs are, right? So if you become incapacitated because something comes down from the ceiling and renders you unconscious, you're not getting help because of you hitting the orange button, because that's not happening. You're getting help coming because your TPAS has started going off and it's set off through the Grace Accountability Box. Now, because of inactivity, now you're getting help. So we got 2 different kinds of help that could be there for us. Okay? So sometimes trying to figure out the difference between the two can sometimes be a little confusing. Just like repeaters. Repeaters we put in the building because for the TPAS. But because these radios were no longer going to simplex, some people think, well, okay, we don't have to go to simplex anymore. We don't need to put repeaters in the building. The repeaters are not for our radios. The repeaters are for the TPASs. Okay? So let's go back to that medical situation. So we don't hear shots fired. We roll up on the location of the shooting. We pull up there. There's no cars in the parking lot. Nobody loitering in front of the building or anything. It's just us. So as we approach the building, we're looking through the glass and the burglar bars and whatnot. We get close to that door, and we can see that body laying on the floor. And we walk up and we push the door, and we make that bell go dingle, dingle, dingle that's attached to it. And we walk in, and up pops the guy from behind the counter. Points a gun at us and says, freeze. So you put your hands up in the air. Now, my finger is right there where that button is because I had my hand on the radio. Do I need to put the button? It's a personal decision. No different than in the fire ground. Because you're looking at this guy, and if you're 3 feet away or 5 feet away or 8 feet away, you're looking at his eyes and you're trying to figure out, what's he going to do to me? Can I get myself out of here? So you got a 50-50 shot if you hit that button. Okay? And it's like Clint Eastwood says, do you feel lucky? But who can hit that button? Even if you choose not to hit that button, who can hit that button? The rest of your crew, exactly right. Okay, so whether you're a crew of 2 or a crew of 3 or a crew of 4, it doesn't matter, because we don't all stand in single file and march right into that building one behind the other. We're usually at least 3 to 5 feet apart from each other. Okay, so you need, anytime we're dispatched on a act of violence type call, shooting, stabbing, assault, whatever, you need to have that situational awareness peaked up a little bit and watching out for the bad guy. Okay, so that you're not caught walking into there with somebody with a gun. Okay, but if you are in this scenario that we're describing here, let's say you didn't hit the button. Okay, so you're standing inside, so your buddy, your crew member, your partner outside can hit the button, and they need to hit it immediately, not even second guess. They need to hit it immediately, because then they can say, Mayday, Mayday, Mayday. My partner's been taken hostage inside the grocery store, and they're holding him with a gun. Okay? Now you say that in 8 seconds. Okay? You've got that out there. So. Huh?
Is there an audible tone?
There's an audible tone, and we're going to go through it here in just a second. Okay? So the guy that's inside the store, his radio was on. Okay? So now the guy with the gun is heard. So let's say you've got 2 choices. If OEC didn't hear what you were saying, okay, they're going to be calling for you, and they're going to say, engine 40, check par. Because OEC is what had to come up with this check par, par okay. We've got nothing in a guideline that addresses how to use these orange buttons, and we've had them active in the apparatus for a couple of years. So when it got accidentally or intentionally hit, OEC had to figure out on the fly, and they did a pretty good job with it. And that is, we are already used to the TPAS. Let's follow the same format as the TPAS. Check par, par okay. If it's not okay, then we got to communicate what our needs are. So during that 8 to 10 seconds of open mic, that's when we communicate what our needs are. That's how we get ourselves out of the situation. So if I'm the one inside the store and I haven't hit the button, there's a lot of different things I can do, okay? So if you say nothing when OEC calls, they should be sending the cavalry, right? Because now they've gone check par. Even if they didn't hear, Mayday, 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 we've got a man with a gun, my partner's been taken hostage. If they didn't hear all that, and they just did check par because they got the alert on their screen, you don't answer, the cavalry's coming. You're getting a district chief, you're getting a first responder, you're getting a medic unit, and you're getting a boatload of cops along with a sergeant, okay? So let's say the guy is smarter than that. He says, you need to get on that radio and you need to tell them not to come. Huh? Serial killer. No, I'm just saying he's a little bit smarter than that. He's heard, because you got your radio on. Well, let's hope he's not that, but let's just say he's just got a little bit of snap. He goes, because he hears your partner on that radio saying there's a man with a gun inside the store, okay? So the gunman says, points his gun at you and says, you need to tell them not to come here or I'm going to shoot you. What do you tell him? No problem. You got it? Here's what you do. You need to lie. And you're going to make 3 easy, identifiable lies so that OEC knows that you are communicating to them that you are under duress and that everything is not okay. Because that's the word. That's the key word, is that word okay. We don't want to use that in our sentence. So think about your apparatus designation. They do not know who our numbering, what our apparatus designation is. They don't know what our numbers are. They don't know any of that stuff unless it's that, God forbid, ex-firefighter or drug-head current firefighter that hadn't been kicked off yet, okay, is doing this, okay? The chances of that are even less than the 1% that we're going to have to change the bank button, okay? So we'll go with the odds that it's not. So we're going to lie. If you're on the north side, you need to pick a south side unit. And if you're on the south side, you need to pick a north side unit. And they need you to change your apparatus designation. So if you're on engine 40 and you're making this run, then what I would say is engine, not even that, engine. I've already gotten out of this mode. And it takes some thinking about what you're going to say. But change your apparatus designation. So if I'm on engine 40, I'm going to say, Rescue 39, we do not have a gunman. Okay? So as far as this guy knows, I've said everything correctly. He doesn't know what our numbers are. He doesn't know what our designation is. But all he knows is what they see on the media, on the TV, on the movies. Okay? So they don't know if we're ambulances, if we're medics, if we're squads, if we're rescues, whatever. We could be any one of those. So they don't know, more than likely. Okay? So change your designation, change your unit number. So if you're on that north side, then change it to something else. Rescue 55, we don't have a shooter here. Okay? One way or the other, you're changing up your number, your designation, and you're saying the exact opposite of what the truth is. You do have a gunman there. Okay? So that should help you with your situation. More than likely, OEC has heard what you said. The only way they're not going to hear it is if you transmit on an HFD talk group that nobody is monitoring down there. Okay? So if you're on Alpha Alpha 3 for the north side, or in our example here with engine 40, they're on Alpha Alpha 10 on that southeast side, you're going to have a radio operator that is listening and knows what's going on, and they're going to be getting you, the cavalry, in a very quick fashion. Okay? So let's run through we'll run through this. Why don't you pause it, Bobby?